All right, so 4L80E transmission, I've got a US shift controller. We're going to click on this Bowman tuning. We're going to open this bad boy up, maybe. There we go. All right, so this is what it looks like when you first get this opened up, right? Let's see if I can make this a little bit bigger over here. Pull that up, and let's drop it right in there somewhere. Okay. Yeah, that's got my big head out of the way. Perfect. So I got the 4L80E. I want to pull up a file. So you can file. It already has some tunes that are loaded, right? So right here, I'm going to go to the normal RPM. You can do low RPM gas. You can do high RPM, diesel, whatever you want to get. I'm just going to go with normal just to see that. And there it is. So it pops up. This is telling you miles per hour. Here is where your miles per hour are at. So you can go all the way up to 150 miles an hour. And then it goes throttle position. Throttle position 0 means you're not doing anything. It's just sitting there. And you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, all the way up to 9 throttle positions. 9 being wide open throttle, right? So most of the time, I think mine wide open throttle is about 6.5, somewhere in here. That's just where my throttle goes to. It doesn't go any higher than that. So after that, it's wide open throttle. So anything in 7, I could actually bring it over here and it would be different, right? Now, what this is showing you, if I click these off, a little bit slow, and take off the auto, we can do line pressure. There we go. I don't know why this is going so slow. It's strange. It's a little, my laptop's a little glitchy. So it's all right. Now, this is telling me here's your line pressure at throttle position 0. So if you're sitting there at idle, it's got the current turned up to 125 microvolts or something. I don't know what that is, 125, whatever it is. Or at 125 miles an hour, throttle position 0. Here's your currents way up here at the top. So your pressure is way up here, right? From my understanding, and correct me if I'm wrong, drop in the comments, tell me if I'm telling you this wrong, but I believe this is how this works. If you're at 0 line pressure, it's going to be full engagement. Just boom, it's going to hit like a champ, right? It's going to hit really hard. If you're the higher up you go for your current, the higher up you go on your signal for line pressure, like raising it up, and I'm not sure how transmissions work, y'all. This is just how I say it. It's what makes sense to me. The more line pressure you have, the softer it's going to make it hit, right? So as a shift kick goes, if you want it to shift hard, you have less line pressure. If you want it to shift hard, God, man, I can't get that right. If you want to shift hard, you have less affecting the transmission. So drop it down here, drop it all the way down, right? You want it lower. If you want it to shift softer, you raise the pressure up to cushion. So it's like a cushion. And this is just for the tuning software. Like I said, I don't know if that's really how it works in the transmission. I haven't researched that. I'd have to look that up and figure that out, but I don't really know. So right now, when it shifts throttle position 1, should be pretty soft, right? Because it's up here pretty high for a normal transmission, normal build, whatever you got, factory OEM transmission. This is what you get. It's going to shift from first to second, which is up here, your 1-2 upshift, which is this lighter green line. A 1-2 upshift at 12 miles an hour or at 1,030 RPM is going to shift. Boom! It's going to shift up and it's going to be a soft because you're way up here, right? It's a soft shift. If you're hitting on it really hard, you're going to throttle position like 5. It's going to shift at 37 miles an hour. And it's going to hit a lot harder because your line pressure is down here. So you really romp on it and you're shifting up, it's going to go boom. It's going to hit a little bit harder, right? That's what it should do. That's the way you want it to work. So this is telling you, here's your line pressure stuff. Your 2-3 upshift right there. Of course, you can see it's a little bit higher. So if you're at throttle position 4, it's going to shift at 48 miles an hour. If you're just barely touching it, it's going to shift at 22. So the less throttle position you have, if you come all the way up here, like wide open throttle, you stand on it, it's not going to shift to hit 90 miles an hour. If your transmission can handle that. That's for 2 to 3 upshift. Okay, 2 to 3 from second to third. So you should be able to get 90 miles an hour in second to third to shift into third. And then from third to fourth, if you're all the way, it's going to be 135 miles an hour before it shifts out of third gear. So you're in third all the way up to 135, and then boom, at 5,000 RPM, whichever you hit first, it'll shift it. Okay, so this is the way this works, the way I understand it. Now, why these come up way up here like this, I'm not sure what the deal is for that. I don't know why that is, but it seems to be. Anyway, then you also have your clutch firmness. All right, that is the lockup converter. So your converter, once you get into fourth gear or wherever you set this, there's ways you can set it to where you want. But when that kicks in, it tells you the firmness of what it does, where it locks in, how hard it's going to kind of come in. Now, your system, when you come in and set that up, show system settings. And this is showing my transmission because that's what's in here, right? So, transmission type, GM 480E. Standard gear ratios, 242, 142, 1, and 0.75 for the overdrive for fourth, okay? So you got first, second, third, fourth is 0.75. Then your converter locks in and makes it 1-to-1, I think. It kicks in that 0.75 and it just gives it a lot better. Something like that. So transmission gear ratios, just here you go. Standard fourth gear is supposed to tell you what it is. Standard. You could change these if you wanted. You click on this. You can go with a custom gear set, and then you can change to whatever ratios you want it to be, right? So you can change all that up. But mine is just standard. So I'm going to leave mine as the standard gear ratio. I want to change it. Well, I'm not going to save it anyway, so it doesn't matter. Speed sensor and gearing. So my gears, I'm running 411s. And my tire diameter is a 37-inch tire. So I'm running 411, 37, so that's what mine says when I put it in there. Throttle position sensor. All you do is set this. You leave your throttle at and you hit set idle, you click it like that. It can't because it's not connected to anything, so that's fine. But it's actually different than this. This is showing mine's actually a little bit different than that. But anyway, you click that when you're sitting there, then you push your throttle all the way to the floor, and then you hit set wide open throttle. And there you go. Now then the basics of your transmission is set. Then you come up here to this topper. When you click it, it's going to move it down here to where you're going at. So Manutronic push button shifting. If you got steering wheel controls, you want to click it back and forth with your little steering wheel controls, you can hook this up, or you can use different buttons. I've got it disabled because I don't have that stuff. You can do it with push button or toggle switch, however you want to do that. You can connect it different ways, right? Then you have your converter clutch settings. So this is what I was talking about earlier. I've got mine set for the minimum. I got to sneeze. Woo! Okay, go away. Hold on. It's trying to get me. Sorry. Minimum miles per hour, 51. So my converter clutch will not lock up unless I'm doing at least 51 miles an hour. I actually got mine set different than this, I think. I think it's for 50, but and then the max voltage is going to be at 3. Okay, so that's your throttle position center voltage. Remember before it said full throttle was 3.53. So the maximum, once I go over that, so basically if you're trying to pass somebody and you put it on, you hit the throttle pretty hard, it drops that throttle position down, that voltage down. It has to go over 3. If you go over 3, boom, it turns that clutch off, right? So it helps you pass them. It kicks it out of that gear. Helps with your passing gear. Minimum gear allowed, you can put in third gear, whatever you want. You can put fourth if you want. I think I have mine at third. I got it set for third right now, just because sometimes it shifts when I'm going up. I got them big old tires and stuff, so it makes it easier. That's your manual. That's your basic converter clutch. Then you got your manual low. So you can 2-1 downshift miles per hour, 18. 1-2 upshift at 5,235 RPM. So if you set this is what it will automatically shift from, for your manual low when you want to do it. When you drop it down in a low, that's what it's going to do. All right. Depends on your RPM, it will automatically upshift. So if you leave it in first gear, drop your shifter down, if you got a column shift or floor shift, whatever you got, you put it in first gear where it tells the transmission you're in first gear, it'll stay there until you hit 5,200 RPM, that's going to upshift automatically, right? Same thing for downshift from 2 to 1. Once you drop, if you're in a different gear, it's going to drop down anyway once you hit 18 miles an hour. And then the speedometer output, and I could be wrong with some of this. Call US Shift. Think I'm saying wrong. Call them and ask them. www.usshift.com, something like that, and they'll get you. All right, so speedometer pulse ratio, that's going to be for your output for your speed control, so it tells you how fast it's actually going. If you can connect yours that way. If you're a two-wheel drive, you can use your transmissions. You have to, right? Because you don't have a way to do that. You can use your pulse control. I I think it does have a screw-in like speedometer cable output that you can use as well. If you have an electronic speedometer, you can use this to set your pulse ratio. Mine, I didn't care, it didn't matter, because mine comes from the transfer case, and I've got a signal from my Autometer Sport Comp gauge. And then you got your little thing for notes, right? Okay, so this is what you can put in, what you want to do, how it's going to work, and this just tells you different things about it. It doesn't really do anything, but so for your own notes. Okay, so that's the stock configuration. This is how it looks, right? We're going to call this stock with a normal transmission. Now, my transmission, made by Jake Performance, and I'm super happy with that. If you need a 480E or any, I would say any transmission work, look at Jake's Performance out of Texas. He's right north of Dallas. I can't remember the name, but he's north of Dallas a little ways on Sanger, Texas. That's what it is, Sanger, Texas, if I believe. Probably still there. Does great work on transmissions. My shout out to Jake's Performance. If you watch this, I'm using your transmission. This is what he sold me this. So he sold me the transmission as a stage 1 or 2 with some upgraded parts in it, because I've got the 496, right? So I've got the 496 in there, putting out around 550, 560 horsepower, somewhere in there, and fuel injection, all that junk. I've got all set up. So that is who set me up with this. He told me, hey, here's a transmission you can get. We'll build it with this. It's good, like 750 horsepower. And then he sold me this controller that goes with it. I'll say the controller's like $600, something like that. I don't remember what I paid for the transmission, but it's not. They're not cheap. Go find a 480E anywhere. It's not cheap unless you get it from a junkyard. You have no idea if it works or not. So, Jake's Performance. Anyway, I got my tunes sitting down here. As you can see, I've been through tune 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I keep playing with it a little bit of time. So my first one, let's open that up and take a look at it. No, I don't want to say that. So you can see I'm a little bit different. I raised a few things up. My line pressure, I had it set down there because that's what was on the stock one, right? Well, it shifts hard. In first gear, it's like, poof, I mean, it'll rock your head back, all right? It's too much. So, and then my shift points I had set because of my throttle position. It was set when I had my Quadrajet in there from the original 10 years ago when I had the Quadrajet set up in there. I just did the EFI. So I had to go back and make some changes on this. So I pulled this up and had to go some changes. That's where I went to my second tune. Come on, there we go. Well, let's just go up here to 4. So I went through some learning curve here, back and forth, right? And now my current one, let's open that bad boy up. No. All right, here's where I'm setting at now. So I went to upshift. As you can see, I had to raise this up quite a bit. Now, I may actually raise it up a little bit more because it still shifts a little bit hard in first gear. He put a little bit of a kit in there. It's like I said, it's got a high torque stall converter in there for towing and all that kind of stuff, so that the engine comes up to speed. So with that stall converter being a high torque, it's already spinning up some horsepower, a little bit of power behind that thing. When it actually shifts and kicks into gear, it's like boom, and it hits pretty hard. So I may have to raise this up, up here somewhere, and I'm going to try this now. Raise this up a little bit. This should make my shifting a little bit softer. It should not be as harsh. All right. Oh, wrong one. Let's put that back. You got to be right on it. There we go. Let's pull that up a little bit and pull this one up just a little bit. All right. Right there. I think I'm going to do that. Then I'm going to click save. Save that because I drove it the other day and I liked it. This was much better. Okay, I was a lot happier with the way this felt. The thing you want to look out for, and I did not change the firmness on this, I just left it the way it was because that firmness is great. You can feel it bump in and it's not crazy ridiculous. It works like a champ. So let's turn that one off. Now let's turn off line pressure because you see where my line pressure is set at. This is supposed to soften things up a little bit. Let me see if I have. Oh, here's my throttle position. Actually, it's a 0.69 and 3.08. Okay. Ooh, I better change because I reset this after I added on the fuel injection. The TPS is a little bit different, right? So let's see. Let's do converter clutch settings. Yeah, I put it 4th gear, 50 miles an hour, max TPS. Let's drop this down a little bit because if 3.8 is my maximum voltage, let's put this at 2.8. I'll do 2.8. And minimum gear, I want it to be in 4th gear, because if I'm in 3rd gear, I don't need that clutch to lock in. Not with the tires and stuff I got. That's why I got it set for 50 miles an hour too. Okay, so let's hit. That'll be good. Let's see what else do I have in here. Transmission type, got the 4LED converter clutch, transmission gear, manual low. I left that one, that's all good. Throttle position, we know where that one's set at. Speed and gear, 411/37s. And all that's good. Okay, we'll close that. Let's hit save. That should be a little bit better. Now, let's close this off. The important thing when you're shifting gears, when you're setting up where you want stuff to shift at, I kept dropping. I have to drop my 3rd gear, 3/4 upshift down, because it was holding 3rd a little bit too long, right? So what you don't want is you don't want your upshift and your upshift from your 2nd, 3rd to overlap. Like if I pulled this down here, I would be missing gears because it's going to try to shift between, right? So you want this to stay above your 3/4 upshift. You want it to stay above your 1/2 upshift. I mean your 2/3. Okay, 3/4 needs to be above your 2/3. If not, you're going to miss some gears. So you can pull these down a little bit. There we go. Now, and then your downshifts, you want to keep those apart. Okay, so that's the key thing to look at. And if you turn this auto off, like this one's how it's kind of strange right there. It's a little too close. I don't want it quite that close. I can pull this one up by itself. Right there. That's a little bit better. That's my downshift and my upshift. It's 2 different things. It should be okay. If not, I can come back and change those a little bit. So I can go to auto. If I'm really worried about it, I can pull this up just a little bit. So it's right off of that line. And grab this one, pull it just a little bit, so it's right off of that line. There we go. Now that keeps them separated. Here's my downshift. Here's my downshift. So those should be okay. I can pull that one up a little bit if I needed to. I can pull and drop this down just a little bit just to kind of even some of that out. But this is going to change my shift points. And I don't know why this is so spread so far apart here, but it is, whatever. I don't know what to do. It's kind of strange. But this was a lot better shifting. Like I said, my max throttle was right over here somewhere. When I put it all the way to the floor, the voltages were like right in here somewhere. So it does not go way up into this. So it doesn't really matter. So now I'm shifting at 114 from 3rd to 4th. If I'm cruising at max wide open throttle, it'll shift at 114 miles an hour. Okay, so I could raise this up so it'll hold 3rd a little bit longer. Reason I don't is because I've got buttloads of torque, right? It's a 496. It's a big block. It has tons of torque. So I can be in 4th gear and it's going to pull. It's going to be just fine. It does just fine. So that's why I've got a lot of these drop down. Also with that high stall torque converter, it gets a lot more engine power behind those shifts, because it's going to, you got to stall up a little bit before you're getting going. But it doesn't matter up in this range. The stall doesn't matter, right? Because you're past the stall way over here. Most of the stall is going to be down here. And that's pretty much how this works. So when I did my test drive yesterday, it was much, much better. I did about 100 miles. I had to go drop the kid or pick the kids up, and I drove it. And on the way up to pick them up, I was playing around with some of this a little bit. I kept raising this up and raising this up. It just was not where I wanted it to be. It was still hit hard in 1st gear, and that's because of that stall and because of the shifting the kit, the way he built the transmission to make it a little bit stronger. So it was shifting pretty hard. I did this calmed it down quite a bit, and now that I've raised this up some more, that ought to calm it down, because I'm usually about the 2.5 to 3. I was right in here somewhere, throttle position, just normal driving around. When I leave a light, when I take off from somewhere, I'm down here in this area, right? So it's not getting all nuts and crazy and having to come way up in here. I didn't even really test this stuff up here, because I never had a problem when I was at full throttle. You feel it hit, it does its thing. It says hello and it goes. So I'm going to run with this tune, and in a future video, I'll let y'all know how this goes. But if you got questions or whatever, drop a comment. I'll answer it the best I can. Again, this is the Bowman tuning system, and I'm using the US Shift 1 because it's very old. I go up to all the way up Shift 6 now, I think is the version. And it does all kinds of crazy stuff. But as you can see, this does pretty good stuff too. Yeah, you turn this on and off. It'll tell you what, when you're plugged in, you start your truck or whatever you got your controller in, it will tell you how fast you're going, because it reads the voltage inside the transmission. It knows by gears. It'll give you throttle position. It'll tell you whether you're in park, reverse, neutral, whatever. It'll tell you what gear you're in, whether the converter clutch is on or off. It'll tell you the fluid temp inside the transmission. It's got a sensor in there, so it knows how hot the temperature is. And then your battery volts also checks that just while you're driving around. So I'm very happy with the US Shift product as well. I'll give them a plug. None of this is sponsored. I bought all this stuff on my own. But if I know somebody that does good work and I like their product, I will tell you right up front. If I don't like their product, I'll tell you that too. But I do a lot of research before I buy stuff. So most of the stuff I purchase is something I like anyway. So I'm not gonna buy something just random just to see. You know, I don't like spending money that I don't need to spend. I like spending on my truck and my wife. That's where I spend all my money. All right, so that's it. Appreciate your time watching. If you guys want to know anything more about transmission shift software, especially just the US Shift, how I hooked it up, what I do, I could do another video if people really want to know how I got the 480 to work. It is a standalone transmission controller. I have nothing else in there. When I had the carburetor, I had a little, that's on one of my videos, I think it's episode 20 or somewhere, 29 or 27, somewhere in there. I gotta show you that. There's a little controller that goes from the firewall. I got it set up on the fender well. It's runs this cable over it that goes to my kickdown cable on my carburetor. So when you would do that, it pulls a little thing and it's a throttle position sensor. So it's just a remote TPS sensor. That's all it is. And I got that from TCI, I want to say. Maybe TCI, I don't even remember who I got it from. But it works and it's been on there. So I went ahead and connected that one to the kickdown cable on my Pro-flo 4. I use the same thing, and I'm using it and it works just like a champ. If I was to get the Edelbrock, I could hook it to the CAN bus that's hanging off the ECU for my EFI stuff, and it works too. I'm sure. I think it has the same kind of software. Maybe it probably looks a little different, but it's basically the same thing. So any of them you should have this clutch control. This purple line was going to kick in. You're going to have your line pressure right here. How that's going to kick in? 250 miles an hour. That's funny. You're going to have your line pressure where it's going to kick in. It'll tell you what's, where you're going to happen up here. And then you got each one of your gears that you can move and change and do whatever with. That's the beauty of an electronic transmission. You can make it do what you want. All right. I appreciate you. Thanks for watching. And I think we're done.